Hi everyone, it's Stats Sean, and once again, I'm doing a series of videos taking a long look at each award for the 2025 MLW season. Today, my process of building out MLB-inspired ballots for these honors shifts to one of the major prizes, the Cy Young Award. There are really only three pitchers worth considering for first place Cy Young votes, and every fan watching this already knows that. It's been apparent all season, meaning I've differentiated that group as finalists. But my ballot has 5 slots. To fill the remaining 2, I've identified 5 players who I could see people arguing for receiving their 4th or 5th place vote. I also selected 4 additional pitchers who I don't think really have a case for appearing on a ballot, but still had nice seasons that I think are at least worthy of mentioning. To start off this discussion, though, I want to go for the big fish right away. Let's talk about the 3 finalists. Put most simply, the job of a pitcher is to prevent runs. Among qualifiers, no MLW pitcher was better at that in 2025 than Caden Irwin, who allowed just 11 runs in 33 innings pitched. That's an average of exactly 1 run every 3 innings, so 1 in the standard MLW game. Despite this, the Cobras managed a record of only 3-6 in his starts, really just highlighting the anemic nature of their offense. Under the hood, Irwin did outperform his peripherals slightly. Thanks to the strong Cobra defense, he allowed an unsustainably low 237 BABIP, meaning that his 1 RA3 will have to go up next year with marginally better sequencing for opposing offenses. But for this year, what happened happened, and it certainly wasn't all a fluke. The case for Jordan Robles comes down to 2 things: innings and strikeouts. Only Dallas Allen logged more than Jordan's 45 1/3 innings pitched, and Dallas only had 1 more out. Robles in that time allowed 10 fewer runs. The headline, though, goes to comparing the strikeouts and walks. No qualified pitcher K'd a higher percentage of batters than Robles, 57.4%, and none walked a lower amount, 10.6%. Put those together, and his strikeout minus walk rate was 46.8%, nearly triple the league average. Put in a simpler way, he struck out 5.4 batters per every walk, by far the most in the league, with second place RJ Walgate at 3.3. The pure run prevention is nothing to ignore either. Jordan was third among qualifiers with a 152 RA3, and he had double-digit more innings than the 2 pitchers ahead of him. All of this was with poor fly ball luck, as Robles allowed 3 more home runs than his fly ball rate would suggest. Overall, the volume and dominance are the case here, though the run prevention is far from pedestrian. RJ Walgate will probably win the Cy Young. His case is essentially a combination of the other 2 finalists. He has nearly identical run prevention to Irwin, with a 106 RA3 in 1 more inning. Yet Walgate's strikeouts and walks are much more similar to Robles than to Irwin, as he finished second among qualifiers in all of the categories that Robles topped. RJ, for what it's worth, probably felt the most like the Cy Young all season. His diverse arsenal and unique release point make him look more unhittable than any other arm in the league, and he goes on long stretches where this is pretty much the case and no one can touch him. The numbers obviously back up his greatness. Using FIP, which is ERA based only on strikeouts, walks, and home runs, he was the best pitcher in the league on a rate basis, at least among the qualifiers. I expect him to take this award in the fan voting. Putting the numbers next to each other here doesn't really show anything that we don't already know and didn't already know going in. Robles has the volume numbers, Irwin has the pure run prevention, and Walgate is a little behind the leader in both respects. I want to compare these 3 in a slightly different way, though. This chart shows how many runs each of these pitchers would have given up had they given up runs at exactly a league average rate in their existing amount of innings pitched. Their actual total of runs allowed is then subtracted from this to see how many runs above average they were worth. And remarkably, if you look on this chart, it's a tie. All three of them are within a tenth of a run of each other. That's how close this race really is. Irwin is technically the leader, but this is a dead heat. Because the runs allowed are so close, to make my decision, I repeated the previous process, but I substituted in how many runs FIP says the pitcher should have allowed for their actual runs allowed. This is the first time there's any real separation between the three, as Robles is the leader and Walgate is easily in second. Irwin is a little further back, thanks to having the fewest innings and the highest FIP. I finally have my answer, at least for the top three slots on my ballot. But of course, there are two more to fill. To start off with the other pitchers who could fill out the ballot, Dallas Allen had a bit of a down year in 2025, but he still was quite good. His 45 and two-thirds innings pitched were, as I already said, the most in MLW, and his strikeout, walk, and run prevention rates were all still comfortably better than the average pitcher. The one blemish was that Dallas coughed up a league-high 15 home runs. This was a bit fluky, as his fly ball rate would project him to allow only 12, but even that number is pretty high. This propensity to give up loud contact, particularly in the air, kept Allen from really competing for another Cy Young this year, but with his nasty arsenal and past performance, he's still clearly within the upper echelon of aces in MLW going forward. Like pretty much everyone expected, Patrick Ballman took a step forward as a pitcher in 2025, making good on the skills he had established in his rookie season, as well as backing up his number one overall pick pedigree. A knee injury and the reemergence of Jackson Pearson kept PB from really taking over as Wildcats ace, but there was still a lot to like in his season. Ballman continued to not walk batters, as only Robles and Walgate limited free passes more. A big improvement, though, was in his home run rate, which he dropped by about a tenth of a homer, going from higher than league average to lower. The batting average against him and BABIP also fell greatly, indicating what we already knew, that he was hit by a lot of bad luck in his rookie season. Overall, he prevented runs at a comfortably above average rate, something he didn't manage to do in 2024. Yet, I still think maybe there's more in the tank with him, given how strong his control is and how similar his arsenal is to past Cy Young Award winner and potential future Cy Young Award winner, RJ Walgate. The best pitch in MLW belongs to Sawyer Bean, who can dominate with his super drop in a way no one else can with just one offering. Unfortunately, this pitch is somewhat ball dependent, and according to Bean, it shreds his arm to throw, though he was hesitant to go to it at points throughout the season. Due to this, the strikeouts were a lot lower than we've come to expect from Sawyer. His 35.4% K rate was 15% below the league average. He offset this by improving his walk rate greatly, avoiding them 23% more often than the league, something he had never come close to doing before. Still, contact is killer, though the run prevention was more all-star level than Cy Young level. Ian has a ridiculous ceiling, probably being the best pitcher in all of MLW when his super drop is working, but that inconsistency relegates him to competing for a down ballot vote, rather than a place among the finalists. I'm so happy Jackson Pearson had this pitching season. Robles aside, JP is probably the best fast pitch pitcher in MLW, but he'd never been able to fully translate that to this more medium pitch style. After refining his arsenal and reeling in his walks, 2025 was finally that season. Honestly, he could have still been better, as he allowed 2 grand slams to account for 8 of his 21 total runs. Very unlucky sequencing. Still, everything for Pearson was very solid, as he was above average in striking guys out, preventing walks, and keeping hitters in the yard. His innings were a little bit suppressed by starting the season behind Ballman and Sean Hornberger on the depth chart, but he finished it as the ace, and that promotion was very well merited. Okay, so real question here. What do I do with Dustin Staggs? The numbers are frankly insane. Easily the best on a rate basis in MLW. He's sub 1 in RA3, as well as the two ERA estimators, FIP and XFIP. It looks sustainable too, with a better strikeout minus walk rate than even Walgate. But it's only 12 and a third innings, not even enough to qualify. I believe in the success, although not quite at this level. That's not sustainable. That has to regress. But I do think Staggs is an excellent pitcher. The sample is just so small when comparing him to the other candidates here that honestly I debated not even including him as a down ballot candidate. I I don't know. Yeah, this chart is broken. Staggs leads in pretty much everything, but it's with less than half the innings of anyone else here, and only about a quarter of Dallas's innings. I'm not really being told anything from this. What I can learn from is doing the simple runs above average calculation that I did for the finalists. When repeating this process for these down ballot names, Dallas stands out as definitively the fourth place vote recipient. More importantly, however, this is an easy way to compare Staggs to the rest of the field, given the inning disparity. He checks in as essentially tied with Pearson, and the two of them are pretty well ahead of Bean and Ballman, clearing up that only Staggs or Pearson should get that final vote. Before I unveil which one, though, allow me to briefly touch on some other notable pitchers. Brendan Jorgensen basically had the diet version of the Staggs season. It's even fewer innings, and the run prevention isn't quite as elite or quite as supported by the peripherals. Yet, given the circumstances that he was essentially an emergency pitcher who ended up getting World Series innings, this is a great season, and these are great numbers. It's just not enough, especially in 10 innings, for Jorgie to contend for a ballot spot. I hope he stays the second pitcher for next season, though, because I really want to see if he can repeat this. And his stuff is, frankly, just really fun to watch. Jimmy Norp finally struck batters out in 2025, which had been a weakness of his for years. Unfortunately, he also walked a lot more than he usually does, and gave up the second most home runs in the league. This was a very up and down season, and Norp may not even be the D-backs ace in 2026. Jimmy is still solid, but I just can't bring myself to put someone who gave up more runs than league average on my ballot. Essentially, ditto for Ryan Cratched. He's still good, but he allowed more runs than the average pitcher. He also stopped striking batters out with only an 85K percentage plus. I suspect this was a bit fluky, and Cratched will fix this and be back to a capital A ace in 2026. Last time he had a down pitching season, he did just that. Learned how to throw a fingerball and came back to win a bunch of MVPs. But this award is based only on 2025, and unfortunately, he was disappointing off the carpet this past season. I'm not putting Jake Sullivan the fourth on my Cy Young ballot, but I still wanted to shout him out here. He was one of only 8 pitchers to qualify for the ERA title while preventing runs at a better than league average rate, albeit for him just 1% better than league average. Definitely an impressive thing for Sully to have accomplished as a rookie, though not among the real award candidates here. Georgie was the best of these arms in 2025, though in a very limited sample. The others all checked in above replacement level, but their rate stats weren't quite up to Cy Young level when they had the volume, and some of them didn't have the volume. Just to demonstrate, the runs above average for this group is shown here. I mean, no offense to them, of course. Like I said, I consider these very nice pitching seasons. Just reiterating that they lag behind the other two groups, and that's why none of them will appear on my official ballot. To finally make my ballot, I don't think any of these decisions are really surprising. I certainly understand votes for Walgate or Irwin, but I went with Robles after performing the FIP-based run value investigation. Dallas is a slam dunk in fourth place. The hardest decision was JP against Stags for my final spot. I decided to go with JP because of the greater volume and because he had to deal with adverse conditions in some of his appearances, something Stags didn't really seem to do, which made Pearson's performance more impressive to me. Also, I think with more innings pitched, Stags' rate stats would have gone down. They inevitably would have to, which would have made this closer anyway. Overall, I feel pretty good about the decision to go with Pearson, as well as my maybe controversial pick of Robles for first place.